we're going to go into game number 2. The map is, in fact, Odyssey. I really like this map. I think it's, you know, all around not played enough, really. It doesn't have so many statistics for it, but it's a really good map theoretically in my head.
Oh yeah, because Andre, you did pick this map. So
Yes.
why don't we introduce our players and you can explain why you think this map should belong to our league. So in the bottom right, I guess, we have HasuObs, the loser of the previous set. We'll find out if he's able to tie it up. He did pick this map, keep that in mind. He is the yellow Protoss from Mouse Sports CC. In the top left, we have the red Zerg from Alternate Attack. He is also a German player. The red Zerg, his name is DarKFoRcE, Jonathan Belke.
Yes. Now, I love this map, Odyssey. I think it was the best map out of all the maps that TPW did send us. The main reason for that is because, you know, it's kind of easy to take a natural. That's all fun and games. Third is right in the middle. You know, 2-base all-ins can be very strong, as well as they can fail miserably. But what I really like is this open area. There's multiple ways to get to your opponent's base, and there's also places where you should attack and where you shouldn't. For instance, let's look at this middle right here. See how open it is? It's basically a whole map of just open area. Well, if we go a little bit over, now all of a sudden we have a ramp that we can work with. We can have like little chokes. We have terrain that we can use very easily. You know, it really, really puts a huge import. Let me phrase this a little bit better. There's a lot of importance in position. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
How you manage your army, where you actually position it, how you're going to attack an opponent, how you want to defend against an opponent, how you want to move around the map. All of these things, I think, are so important in determining and really discriminating the best players from good players. And I think this map really delivers.
Well, you know,
There's
and
my
speaking of
explanation.
position, yeah, I was taking it in, man. I was gonna take a deep breath and sigh. Andre, that was a very elated explanation. Thank you so much. And we do see that DarKFoRcE has revealed that he has a third building. He didn't even try grabbing his natural. No point in wasting time. He's going to be very crisp. And actually, there's sometimes benefit Zerg players, depending on how you look at it. Some Zerg players, you know, prefer to take their third anyways because they're going to go for the 3 hatch before gas. And why not? It worked pretty well before. Although this time, DarKFoRcE doesn't actually see that pylon. Oh man, Hasu picked a very good spot. And actually, based off the way things are, it looks like it's going to be really hard for DarKFoRcE to deal with these cannons.
Oh, and it looks like, okay, so if this one probe, oh my god, if the probe can make another pylon over here, that would be brilliant. And DarKFoRcE is going to let this go.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a good position for our Zerg player. No. But this is also a huge investment for Hasu, so DarKFoRcE still has time to cancel if he can't really do much about it.
Yep, and there the cannons go up. HasuObs is in a great position, and he should be able to cancel this hatchery. There it is. Yeah. I was a little bit worried as you were.
Well, wait to the very last possible second. Now, Hasu, again, keep in mind, he did invest a lot of time into this cannon rush, so to speak. Oh, wow, look at that. Leaving a present behind, a gateway to block the expansion again. And yeah, that's just another way to also stall Zerg, and Hasu doing everything he would like to. Look at the mineral pile up here, 860. Yeah, even popped to 900 before DarKFoRcE can even get a hatchery up. Yeah,
that's a tough situation for a Zerg player. You really want to get your third up ASAP. Now, this obviously throws a wrench into it. I do want to mention one thing. The amount of Zerglings that DarKFoRcE went, you might ask yourself, you know, why did he go 4 Zerglings? It's for that very reason of all those buildings being constructed. If you get 4 Zerglings and a single drone, I think, or I think 4 Zerglings might be enough.
That's enough.
But it's able to attack enough or do enough damage or do more damage than the...
All right, well,
okay,
to clarify, our producer, every time we say something grammatically incorrect, he's like in our ear and telling us about it. So we're really paranoid about saying a sentence incorrectly. That's why we're kind of stumbling to you guys. But don't worry, we'll just actually just do our thing, Andre. Don't worry about it, Andre. Okay. The way you phrase it, just say it how it is. The 4 Zerglings are enough to do enough damage.
Do enough damage over the amount of health it actually gains from it constructing.
Yeah, and so you're able to really make sure Protoss can't really do much with that. And you can see that DarKFoRcE still only staying on those 4 Zerglings. He only has 2 left, but he's not really getting harassed at all, because HasuObs, regardless of what happened at the third, is also delaying his build. You can see +1 started, and it's almost 7 minutes into this game. Normally, Protoss like to get around 5:15 to 5:40, somewhere in between then, and it's about a minute late as a result.
There is a lot of opportunity cost that goes into delaying your opponent's hatchery. Of course, putting down those 150 minerals, that could have been 2 assimilators at that point in time. So HasuObs definitely had a couple of, you know, slow processes that could have been a lot faster. But, you know, you're kind of like slowing. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Deal.
So Hasu is late to get up to tech, but the important thing is that DarKFoRcE has to stay on 2 base. You can see he's already finishing up his lair and getting a Spire. And, you know, how is Odyssey for Muta builds here, Andre? I haven't seen, again, we haven't seen Odyssey too much, and we actually haven't seen a lot of Muta choices because of how open the middle is. Normally we see those roaches kind of stuff.
I think the Spire tech is a little bit weird, honestly, but DarKFoRcE feels forced into this style. Now, the other major style he could have gone was 2 base Infestor Zerglings.
Oh, yeah, and deny the third.
Exactly. That would have been a great way to actually progress on, but Spire tech, it's okay. I feel like, again, Mutas, they're good. Their mobility is great. We'll see. It's all in the hands of the user, in my opinion.
That's true.
How you actually control them. If you lose a lot of Mutas in the beginning stage, well, you're basically screwed for the rest of it. How you can just go around the map and make it so that your opponent doesn't have a lot of eyes on the map as well.
We do see that DarKFoRcE is moving out with the drones. Maybe he wants to take his third in the bottom left corner. And yeah, it looks like that's what it's going to be. Hasu does end up having that pylon to also fall back if he wants to kind of pressure Zerg. You can see 2 more gateways in production on top of the 4 that he has. Nope. Make that 7, so whoa. He's going to go for a strong 2-base timing here, or at least the way he's gearing up. Pressure Zerg in some regard.
This is going to be very strong, because look at this. The proxy pylon is so close to his opponent's base, and I feel like HasuObs smells it in the water. And his opponent being only on 2 bases, he'll have to rely heavily on spine crawlers. If DarKFoRcE does not identify this really, really quickly, he will be in so much trouble, because now all it should be is Zerglings Mutas, Zerglings Mutas. If it's anything different, like drones right here, he's dead. Well, I don't know yet, but he could be dead right now.
He's in a not that great position, but at the same time, keep in mind that Hasu doesn't actually have force fields. He does have +1, so that'll help him a lot. And DarKFoRcE gets the surround that he was looking for, and Hasu gets completely surrounded. And a lot of his stalkers are pretty weak, so as long as he cleans up the stalkers, the Mutas can engage on the rest of the Zealots. But the Warpin does reveal a lot, actually. He saw the stalkers Warpin, so he knows 7 gates are at least up. And DarKFoRcE has a lot of good information. He only has a few Mutas out into the field, but for now, he held off the initial rush pretty well.
And I like what DarKFoRcE is doing. He is sending just 5. It might seem a little bit weird. What are 5 Mutas actually going to do? But think, if he warps in any units over here, it weakens the push up in the home front of DarKFoRcE. So it's a really nice job what DarKFoRcE is doing. But Blink is already finished. I didn't even see that. And now we might have another assault over here at the natural of DarKFoRcE's base.
I mean, the way Hasu was lining up for +2 Blink timing is, it's just, again, it's a little bit later than he wants to, but the way DarKFoRcE is also setting up his armies for a good flank, the Stalkers do end up seeing it, so he abandons that plan. But at the same time, you know, DarKFoRcE also has a lot of room to work with flanks, because he's spread out his creep towards the center of the map, so if you ever want to try to re-engage according to the spines, he could.
Yeah. For now, HasuObs is just going to try to poke up here. He does, almost lose a single spine crawler. But in the meantime, DarKFoRcE is gearing up for this counterattack.
There's not much. There's actually nothing even blocking it.
Oh, there it is.
But he's going to actually just run by anyways. Oh, a misplacement here. And Hasu's actually going back home, trying to see if he can salvage anything, and that's not good. He's going to lose a lot as natural.
Now, if you look at the third of DarKFoRcE, he actually doesn't have that saturated too well. So it is, for all intents and purposes, 2 base against 2 base. However, there are a ton of Mutas out here. They're very fragile, but at the same time, they can do a lot of damage. You can see it forces HasuObs to stay on this 2 base for quite a long time. It's so hard for him to be aggressive and take a base. That's just not possible against a Muta build.
Yeah, they can be in too many places at one point, and Protoss is going to be spread pretty thin. You can see, a good blink here, and picks off 1 Muta, and doesn't actually get anything else, but some decent damage. There's only 18 out here, and you can see that DarKFoRcE is still sneaking drones in slowly. The worker disparity is still getting higher and higher, but we see that Hasu is just going to stay on 2 base for now, try to get Storm out. That's what you need to do. Blink and Storm is the way to really deal with mutants.
Now, where does HasuObs actually go from here? What is his plan for defeating his opponent? Well, you can actually say Zerg stays on 2 base, I stay on 2 base. It's even, right? But normally I'm a little bit more cost efficient. You can see the resource loss tab. It's just about even. There's a 300 resource difference, but overall, Protoss does tend to be a little bit more cost efficient in this mid-game stage. So HasuObs should be thinking, if I can deny the 3rd base of my opponent, I will be in a great position to actually win this game. With Storm, with Blink Stalkers, he's in a great position, I guess. I keep saying that, but
yeah,
he set himself up to win this game very nicely.
I think DarKFoRcE knows also. You know, he saw the Tampa archives. He knows that it's a risk every time he peers in because he doesn't know the Storm timing. And Hasu, he's actually completely comfortable playing this kind of style as well. You know, turtling. Of course, obviously he'd like to have a 3rd base by now. It's 15 minutes in this game, but look at the mutas diving a lot of it. There's Templar ready to Storm as well, but DarKFoRcE does pick off a couple pylons, some probes, cannons, and just heads out.
10 workers killed so far. DarKFoRcE is at 140 supply. HasuObs is at a 96 supply. Now, DarKFoRcE has been able to get his 5th and 6th gas. That's a very instrumental, key moment for him. Once he establishes 6 gas, he's able to roll that over a lot easier. So he has this excess gas. What does he do with it? Well, he kind of tries to negate the upgrades. That's one of the biggest problems of Muta Zerglings. You have to upgrade both air and ground. So a lot of times Protoss will have this ground upgrade for a long time, but we'll see. We'll see if no, we don't even have. Do we have evolution chambers up?
So I don't see any.
DarKFoRcE is actually not playing this for the super long game.
Yeah.
He's looking
he's
to
starting
end
it just now.
Okay, so that is, I mean, it's a problem because for the rest of the game until 3-3 is established for our Zerg player. Nice Storm.
He also stormed on his own probe, so he had to pull it back before he did that. But you know, that took a lot of damage. Some some mutas are already in the yellow. Now, Baneling Nest is also in production for DarKFoRcE. You know, normally, you know, we see, you know, being able to get that is a really big upgrade, as well as Ventral Sacs for your Overlords being able to confront the Protoss army. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts about this, especially that DarKFoRcE, hasn't even had 4th bases yet. He's kind of stuck and relegated to 3 bases.
Well, think about it. If I'm not upgrading my Zerglings, what's the best way to give them the most amount of damage? Banelings are a great way. So he's funneling all the gas that he would normally put into upgrades into those Banelings. That's a great choice, but again, it doesn't really have the capacity to go into the super long game stage, right? Like, you're going to be pretty much playing this low economy style, just getting the best army composition and being able to catch your opponent in a really uncomfortable position like we have right now. HasuObs might actually lose a couple more pylons over here.
But at the same time, he has to be really cautious about storms. DarKFoRcE, some of those mutas are in dangerous levels of HP, and a couple immediately drop off.
Nice job.
And you can see that DarKFoRcE already starting to prepare a little bit later into the game. He's finally expanding to his 4th base. Actually, he's taking in a kind of interesting position. He doesn't actually have to take that spot. He could take the top center. But he also has an infestation pit that is done. 36 Banelings in production as well, so DarKFoRcE gearing up for something huge, as you can see right now that he's preparing the way for a potential attack.
Takes about 2 storms to kill the Banelings. I mean, the Banelings are able to move past the storms very easily, especially if they're on creep. And with centrifugal hooks, it helps out so much. So I think DarKFoRcE will wait for that and try to bust the 3rd. DarKFoRcE is thinking, if I can stop my opponent from taking his expansions and keep him on 2 base, then I'm in a really good position because I'm on 4 base for myself.
Excellent choice here from DarKFoRcE to pull back the remainder of all of his Banelings and just let a couple Zerglings deal with the initial Scout Zealot. Oh no, DarKFoRcE not paying attention to his Mutalisk. That could turn out very bad. One Archon gets a free shot and the blink forward, which means the Stalkers can't blink back either. And here come the Banelings,
nice
the Storms. It's going to be extremely close, though, as the Zerglings are the ones that remain.
Wow.
And the Mutalisks all taking the Storm up front. They don't even care. They're still going to confront the army. But look at the Mutalisk ball completely disappear in front of the Protoss army.
And that's the power of the Archon right there. Archon and High Templars just eliminated everything. That was a fantastic engagement for HasuObs. Now he's going to continue this on, take out this third base over here, and he should put his sights on that fourth base in the top right-hand corner after this.
Wow, wow, wow. That was pretty sloppy engagement there from DarKFoRcE, just letting his Muse take too much damage from the Storms. But at the same time, he was kind of forced to confront based off the way he was. And I love the fact that Hasu retreated off creep, knowing that that was the biggest priority in order to avoid Baneling Splash. Greater Spire is on the way, as Hive did complete 5 Infestors as well. So Zerg, of course, wants to end up building towards that Blue Lord army, but he is really far behind in terms of producing that kind of army. And you can see Hasu, who's actually re-sees control of this game.
And the big problem is he has Archons out. Where is the investment to counter Archons? Normally it is something like Roaches. Roaches, I mean, I wouldn't say counter, but they're great help in removing them from the field. Archons don't do nearly as much damage. Stalkers do get picked off over here. A nice little win for DarKFoRcE, but is it enough? I would say it's kind of hard to justify that.
Hasu's on 77 probes as well. DarKFoRcE's economy is not that great, as he invested a lot into his army. And you saw those Banelings didn't end up producing a lot of damage. In fact, pretty much just chasing the storm. So you can see, you know, actually that's kind of also why sometimes Zerg players don't exactly just like to confront Protoss army. If they have force fields, even Archons, you can absorb a lot of Baneling damage. It's just not necessarily the smartest to engage straight up like that. Fleet Beacon is also done. Mothership has just started, so it's only a matter of time before Hasu gets the army that he always wants in PvZ. Right now you can see Hasu's actually taking a 4th base very confidently.
And that Mothership is starting over at the 3rd base. You should chrono boost that out non-stop. In the meantime, DarKFoRcE, he needs to do this. This might be really, really weird for some people, but these spine crawlers are a must because all the development so far has been on Mutazerg and Baneling, and that really doesn't deal with that endgame composition too well. I love what HasuObs is doing. Off of this, he could have ended it a lot earlier, but he's just saying, let me just retain my advantage. Make sure there's no way DarKFoRcE could ever get back into this game, get the perfect army composition with 5 Archons. Oh, well, that's not the perfect army composition, but get additional Archons, get my Mothership out, and make it so that I can Archon toilet anything I want to kill.
Yep, and we see that the upgrade advantage also is still in favor of Hasu. He does have +3, and he is about to finish +1 shields, which is very big for his Archons in terms of confronting Zerglings, especially Zerglings that have +3 and Adrenal Glands, if he ever gets to that point. We see that Hasu is also just getting he's getting robotics, another robotics, getting a robotics base, so he's preparing a crazy amount of tech here in terms of confronting for the next Zerg army. DarKFoRcE doesn't have that much. He does get a fungal off, but I mean, for the most part, that is not intimidating force whatsoever. Hasu has to be happy seeing that.
Oh yes, and on top of that, you know, you're pretty limited in the amount of gas that you can really do at this point, since you lost so many mutas in that early game stage. I mean, he had nothing that rolls on into that end game stage, right? All of his units were dead, so HasuObs has like a foundation to work off of. He has an Archon count, a Stalker count, so he can really put all of his gas into exactly what he needs to defend this.
Do you see what I see in the upgrade? I see Graviton Catapult. Carrier upgrade. Oh snap!
Dude, yeah, HasuObs is known for doing stuff
exactly,
like this.
But I'm just glad that we're able to actually see it. Just because it's you know, it's cool watching Hasu pull himself out when it looked like you know, even though he got the cannon rush off, it looked like he was in a pretty tough situation by the way the Muse were picking off a lot of workers. But DarKFoRcE refusing really to drone up and take bases is really starting to catch up to him. Although now he has a pretty healthy drone count. He's at 72, and he's got the 5 bases to the northern half, so it's kind of become a north versus south battle here on Odyssey. Let's check in on the upgrades once again. We see +2 shield is also priority, so really valuing the shield, which is really smart also because it helps protect his Mothership, especially because he's also getting carriers onto the field.
Now, we've seen really good engagements go well for the Zerg, and they're able to just clamp down on their opponents very easily. One game that comes to mind is the Vibe vs. Mana, where Mana was maxed, Vibe was at 130 supply, and the Zerg actually came out on top from that battle. All it takes is one bad engagement. You misplace your army, you put it in a terrible position, and all of it's gone, or at least the majority of it is gone. That could definitely happen in this case. HasuObs needs to be very careful and make sure that the mothership has enough energy to vortex. Now, it has one vortex. He might actually wait for the second one. No, he's going to run around. I don't know
No,
what
he's waiting
doing.
for carriers too, and like
Oh,
thermal
okay. That
lance.
makes
I mean,
sense.
he's got some pretty important upgrades going to finish, and Hasu is just sharking right now, trying to see if he can get the Zerg army out of position. Because I mean, if by all means he sees an opportunity, Zerg's out of position, just vortex and just send the Archons in there.
Precisely.
And but the tough thing is that even though our Protoss has all this. Engaging straight up is a little bit sometimes difficult with Broodlord range. And Odyssey, how do you think the map's going to play out in terms of geography, in terms of ledges, and where should Protoss really be fighting, and where should Zerg really want to be fighting?
Okay, well, it's kind of weird because there are a lot of situations where Broodlords can be all clumped up, and one vortex or two vortex can get rid of everything. But I think for the most part, it's kind of hard to say. You do want ledges, of course. You want to make sure that those Blinkstalkers can't really get to your Broodlords. So I would say go in a place that's near your base, or at least hug the sides. But that is also a big problem, because hugging the sides, it gives up position in the middle of the map, and that really makes you immobile. It doesn't make you a really good candidate of moving around from the bottom left to the top right, or wherever it needs to go, where you can do anything you want,
Yeah,
or
and
force your opponent out of position. That's what I'm trying to say.
no, you're absolutely right. And positioning is so key.
Yeah,
it is pretty much the decider of the next battle.
That's where it is. I mean, when both these players are maxed at 200, all they're looking to do is one of two things: either get the perfect position, or start churning out your probes and replace it with units to win for sure that 200 fight. And here we go, blink up. You might actually
really
target out that
clever.
hive.
Yeah, and even the Greater Spire, that's actually a big purpose. But the Zerglings are trying to see if they can come in from behind, and can Hasu pick it off? The spines are working. Look at that, DarKFoRcE even also positioned his infestors, but the recall and trying to pull back the Stalkers. And all of a sudden, the Zerg army is out of position. Hasu is moving over to the eastern part of the map, trying to see if he can cut down on some of the expansions. DarKFoRcE has spine crawlers everywhere, a very good use of the mineral excess.
Wow.
And he's going to use some of his Colossus to poke down this spine crawler wall.
Clever way to get your opponent way out of position. Now, what does that do? All the units will have to stream in from this single ramp. If I can put a vortex down there,
yeah,
then
it's gonna be
you basically expect nothing. Nothing can save this base, and you just back up. You just killed his opponent's fifth. There's so many things that you can do, but no, HasuObs is actually not going to do that.
Yeah, and you know what? Hasu's been hiding carriers this entire time, and that's the first time DarKFoRcE actually saw them. And now he's making a lot of Corruptors. He only has 5 Corruptors to actually take on this force, and Hasu has 3 carriers on the way. No, 1 just finished. He needs to wait for the other 2. Some energy being used from the infestors. DarKFoRcE, he's been sitting max with 15 Broodlords, 10 infestors, and 10 Corruptors, and a lot of Zerglings. But we all know how that turns out against the Archon Toilet.
Not so good. Now, Neural Parasite has not yet been researched. Does he have it in queue? No, he does not. Oh, he doesn't have an infestation pit. I forgot. It was sniped. Does he actually
put
that
down again? Oh, he did pick it off. You're right.
Oh my gosh, he needs that infestation pit. I mean, that's one of the big upgrades.
He might not even notice either, because I mean, if he noticed, he would have prioritized it.
That's true.
Very, very quickly. And you see that he's making another Spire. He's getting ready just in case he loses his other Spires. So, and I like that. He's just preparing for himself. And we're talking earlier about positioning. And you can see DarKFoRcE really wants to fight behind this turbine, because that's where he can maximize Broodlord range.
Correct.
And he's been setting up his spine calls accordingly, but now he's starting to get a little bit impatient. He's sending a lot of Changelings, trying to see if he can get positioning or scouting on the position.
Changelings don't do too well against Archons and Colossus. Let me tell you that. Unfortunate. Nice feedback goes down on that single infestor. I don't know what it was doing out there.
DarKFoRcE is getting impatient.
Yeah, I don't think this is a good decision by DarKFoRcE. The plan of attack is really tough. I think if you want to attack, put it down kind of a narrow path over here, and then you can spread out all your Broodlords and really snipe this bottom left-hand base. That's what he should probably be prioritizing, but at this point, looks like he just wants to camp out in the middle of the map.
Something I want to point out is that the infestors do have Neural Parasite. One High Templar moving in, gets 1, and storms a lot of the Banelings. An excellent choice here from HasuObs to utilize his High Templar energy. And
2 Corruptors go down.
2 Corrupt. Yeah, so picking off these small little things is very, very significant. DarKFoRcE trying to position over the Watchtower But the mothership is advancing forward, and that's a very scary thing. You can tell that right now, DarKFoRcE, he kind of wants to make something happen, but at the same time, he shouldn't actually be forced to engage, because a couple things. He'd be engaging off creep, and he'd be caught with all of the vortexes from the mothership.
Exactly. What he's trying to do is work around the vortex. You can see the infestors trying to just snipe up, get control of that mothership, and then hopefully put 2 vortexes down, at least 1, and then DarKFoRcE can actually engage. He has researched Neural Parasite right now, so he has the capabilities to do that. In the meantime, look at that, probes being sent out.
Almost suicide into the Baneling.
Will they kill all of these Broodlords? Let's find out.
Well, they do have +3 shields. Oh, Hasu's moving over to the eastern part of the map again into way more spines than before. The Archons absorbing lots of damage. Here we go. Are they going to actually battle?
Ooh, nice.
The Banelings are going forward. Oh, wow. The Broodlords are also coming over the ramp here. The carriers are going forward as well, sniping one almost instantaneously. DarKFoRcE is temporarily losing control of his army here.
Look at how fast those carriers take down a Broodlord. That is
+3 carriers is actually one of the highest DPS in the game.
You missed my joke.
Oh, sorry. What did you say, Andre?
That is brutal.
Oh man.
Thanks for that laugh.
But
I know it was insincere.
I chuckle, man. I chuckle. I'll laugh next time, no matter what you say.
Thank you.
Oh, we see the spine callers trying to set up a wall.
Oh, nice feedbacks.
Oh, and he takes control of one of the Archons, and just setting up another wall defense. A lot of action between the 2 casters of the Protoss and Zerg army. The Corruptors are going forward here, kind of without the army. Again, has to be really cautious, engaging off of creep, but DarKFoRcE slowly advancing his wall to a better position.
I think maybe if DarKFoRcE, he can mind control one of 2 things. He can actually mind control a High Templar if they get out of position, and then feed back the mothership.
That would be so pimp, man. That would be
I just made you so excited.
That'd be cool, man. I'm getting all Rotterdam up in here.
Oh man,
that'd be so sick.
So sick.
Oh, but at the same time, Hasu has a pretty good defense. You know, he has carriers that can take down almost anything instantly if it moves out of its boundaries. As right now, it's basically like this is a really tough position because Hasu can't directly attack into it. He's just going to get fungled nonstop. But you can see the carriers are starting to go to work, and Broodlord after Broodlord is getting picked off here. Another good fungal as we do see some High Templar trying to storm the Corruptors and weaken them.
You don't want to do that. HasuObs is being a lot more cost efficient than his opponent. You can see that by the bank that exists. 10,000 minerals, 3,000 gas for this Protoss hero over here. He also has a good amount of Stargates. That's the one thing I want to mention. I think a total of 5. He doesn't have a lot of gateways, which is kind of surprising. Normally you see a huge bank of gateways that way you can remax really fast, but I don't think HasuObs is ever expecting himself to actually lose this huge army.
Oh. He's trying to bait the Zerg army out into a bad position. Obviously, he wants to get the Vortex out. The Mothership's been itching to do it, just keeping his finger over the V button. The carriers trying to see if they can engage a little bit, add some damage, but in the end, it's just minerals. So not actually the worst thing in the world. Changelings keeping a good scout.
Stormed.
Oh, those poor Changelings.
Did they get in here?
They just want to be. They just want to be one of the Protoss.
They just want to be there. Look at that. He like.
Look at that. That's the most. HasuObs is so exclusive, man. Look how elite he is. Won't even let any other zealots join the Protoss.
No, he was like, that's a waste of supply. I don't care if you're real or not. Get out of here.
Oh, it's so
I want
mean.
Archons, not that.
Having flashbacks to middle school when I couldn't join the Key Club.
Oh, ouch.
We see Hasu again zoning, and you see, like, he's still upgrading. In the end, I guess Hasu just wants the perfect engagement. But now it's get to the point where you have to start considering mining out onto the base. You see a lot of bases from HasuObs are running low, and because DarKFoRcE actually took his expansion a little bit later, he still has some patches around compared to HasuObs.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is the first time I've ever seen Protoss ground armor level 3. Like that icon. I've gotten it before in troll games, but I've never actually
good fungal. Sorry, I didn't mean to interview, but yeah, it's first time for everything, Andre. Maybe the first Vortex of the game. He's moving out with his mothership. It might be time, or is it? The Banelings are going onto it.
There it is.
Oh, he lands it on a huge amount of the Broodlords, and that's exactly what he wants, but there are a lot of Brood everywhere.
Yeah, and it looks like DarKFoRcE just does not have enough units here. Maybe they're in the vortex, but I didn't really see a ton of units come out of there. Oh, okay. Yeah, there are a ton of.
They're all in there, and they are all disappearing right before our eyes. As a quick magic trick here, Hasu says, now you see them, now you don't. The mothership is about to drop, but the Zerg army is at complete pieces compared to where it once was. 22 roaches are on the way, but that's not going to be for anything. GG. HasuObs takes game number 2 on Odyssey.
World-class performer HasuObs is. The carriers were immaculate. I mean, that is so much damage. You said it. So much damage being done by those carriers. Highest DPS in the game, and they're able to always get rid of the Broodlords. Now, that slow little picking is what's probably most important about that whole series, or that whole game.
Yeah, the pokes.
The fact that I can poke with very minimal losses. Think, Inceptors are only 25 minerals, so I can trade these minerals for your Broodlords. I have no problem with that, and just get out of there and think. You can always recall everything out if they're locked in place and you know they're fungled down. Exactly. So really, really great play coming out from HasuObs, and I think he deserved that second game.
Yep, so thank you so much to the sponsor of that game, Azo, for providing the monitors for NASL Season 3. Check them out at azo.com. We'll be back with game number 3, the decider between these two Titan players. The European Germans will be back. That's actually redundant. We said that earlier. We'll be back with game number 3. Don't go anywhere. More action from Division 2 coming up next.